Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q4 FY21 earnings conference call for NMDC, hosted by DAM Capital Advisors Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star and zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Vishal Chandak from DAM Capital. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining in for the fourth quarter FY21 earnings call for NMDC Limited. We have with us the Chairman cum Managing Director, Shri Sumit Dev, and the Director of Finance, Shri Amitabh Mukherjee. Sir, thank you very much for giving us the privilege to host the call, and congratulations on fantastic set of numbers. So, without much ado, I would hand over the floor to Sumit sir for his opening remarks, and then we will open up for the Q&A. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vishal, and glad to be here for the con call. NMDC Q4 performance has been, it's a great performance in terms of, if you see the numbers, production figures, 12 million tons, and look at the numbers in terms of profitability, profits, and EBITDA margins, all have been at an all-time high. So we have done exceptionally well in the Q4. With a little bit of favorable market situation condition. However, this is an all-time high record Q4. We also ended the year also with a turnover of 15,720. That is inclusive of the other incomes. So the performances has been very good. Also, production figures also have gone up by 8%. Sales went up by 6%. So, of all put together, it has been a good year for NMDC. Thank you.
So shall we open the floor for question and answer?
Yes, please. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and two. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Abhishek Modi from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question. My question pertaining to the royalty and the other levies. It's a known fact that because of change of the MMDR Act, there was a huge jump. But can the management give sort of clarification on it? Because they have spoken that it was posted 28th March 2021 when if I'm right, the amendments are finalized or approved by the president. But from how many periods in the sort backdated, because Donimali mines are open in Feb. So previous 2 years or 1 year, how many years, and same way for the other two mines also, except if I'm right, the Kumaraswamy mines. Any sort of breakup or clarification as to the huge royalty jump?
So this additional royalty is effective from the date of the amendment coming into place. In case of Donimalai, we started in March. We started our production in March. So on 500,000 ton, we had to pay this additional. We had to pay this additional amount of 22%, 22.5% premium. And for our mines which got renewed in the Chhattisgarh sector, we are already paying. So from the date of amendment.
So yeah, so in the sense that from you're paying backdated period.
No, there's no backdate. It is always a prospective effect.
So prospective effect means because if I take into account for this royalty was paid for how many days for the Q4 quarter? And my second question, attached question to it will, so in the Q1 of FY22, how much you have to pay royalty for the 3 months, if I'm right? If you have paid for Q4 for half a month or 1 month, correct?
So for Q4, like I said, we are paid. We used in Donimalai 500,000 ton, so we paid for that.
It is 48 crores in Karnataka and 101 crores in Chhattisgarh for 3 days.
Okay, for 3 days. So okay, so if my assumption is correct in terms of that for the Q1 FY22, the royalty amount will be almost 3 times something which we have already booked for Q4 quarter, because you have paid this for 3 days or whatever, 15 days, 10 days.
Anyway, the numbers are not. I mean, we have to pay for. I mean, since the actors come in, so you need to pay for that. So we are paying for that.
Okay. Thanks for taking my question.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rahul Jain from Systematics. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Thanks for taking my question. So I have, so on your steel plant, can you give us some update? When are you going to start, and what sort of numbers are we building in for this year? And also related to that, what kind of capex are we looking for this FY22?
So the total capex for this year is around 3,700 crores, and for the steel plant would be around 1,500 crores. Is the capex for this financial FY22, and we are looking at commissioning the plant in somewhere around Q3. So
I mean, you are like fairly confident this time around, because I have to say there have been COVID, there have been a lot of delays. So
there have been delays, now the plant is more or less ready. I mean, the entire plant is ready. So hopefully we are
now. What steps have we taken for the divestment? Any progress on that?
So the divestment process is basically by the Government of India. They take a call. I mean, DIPAM does work for them. I mean, that is up to DIPAM. So we NMDC at the moment we do not have any. I mean, we do not have any role to play in that. So that will be taken care of by DIPAM.
Right. And sir, with respect to the amount pending with the monitoring committee, how much is first of all the quantum now, and what is the status with the court case in the Supreme Court?
So the amount is around 2,300 odd crores, which is there, and the Supreme Court has actually told us that they would only be taking a physical hearing. They would hear this matter in a physical hearing. So we're just waiting for the Supreme Court to start the process, and then we'll take it up.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, that was very helpful.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Amit Dixit from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Thanks for taking my questions and congratulations for a good set of numbers. I have 2 questions. The first one is with respect to, again, Donimalai. So there were certain demands from Karnataka that, apart from the enhanced level of royalty, they were expecting something else, that you have to pay some lump sum amount and all. So is there any pending amount that needs to be paid, or have we booked any pending any amount except the higher royalty for Donimalai?
No, there is nothing pending, or we have to book any further amount. Whatever is there, 22.5% from the date of the act coming into place, we are paying.
So there has been no incremental cash outflow from the company, on Donimalai, except for that, of course, the enhanced royalty.
Yes.
Okay. The second question is, sir, little bit intrigued by the pellet plant. This is still making losses despite, a significantly high level of pellet prices. So is it possible to throw some light on the capacity utilization of that plant and why we are making losses over there?
So this pellet plant is basically consists of two parts. One is the pellet plant in itself, and the other is the beneficiation plant which we had. Now this beneficiation plant there were some technical issues in this plant with regard to the pressure filter. So that part we have taken care of now, and it is we are testing the new pressure filters which have been installed by a company called Teju, and so now that one module is ready. The next module also is we are placing an order for getting that also, revamping that also, and then the plant has started production, and we believe that the plant will gradually ramp it up to its rated capacity.
So what was the utilization in Q4, sir?
Q4 would be 30% probably.
30%. Okay. I have a couple more questions.
On a monthly basis probably. I mean because we just finished the revamping at the end of somewhere in March, and we just started trial production. So it would not be much to that extent.
Okay, understood. So
6%.
Okay.
4,000 tons, so that's around 6% annual. On an annual basis, it was around 7%.
So 4,000 tons you produced from that plant and sold in the month of March.
Most of it came in the month of March.
Okay, and it was 4,000 tons. That's the number you are giving us.
For the utilization, as CMD said correctly, is 36%, but the annual capacity utilization was only around 7 to 8%.
Yeah, sure, sir. That's fine. Okay. So I have some more questions. I'll come back in the queue. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Poddar from HDFC Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. So regarding the royalty, just some clarity. So the way things stand, all the mines except for Kumaraswamy, the effective royalty is 22.5%. And even in Kumaraswamy from 2022 or 23, when it renews, it will go to 22.5%. Is that the correct understanding?
So this is not exactly royalty. Royalty is 15%. This is the premium which you have to pay. So 150% of the royalty, that's 22.5%. So right now we are paying in all the mines except for Kumaraswamy, which comes up for renewal next year.
Okay, and to total what you are paying is 22.5% all combined?
Yes.
Royalty and premium included. Hello?
Yes, please.
Yeah, and sir, regarding the DMF, how is that going to be calculated now, the District Metal Foundation contribution? Will that be on 15% or?
No, that's a normal. There is no change in DMF and NMET.
Okay, so just if you could clarify total statutory levies as a percentage of sales, how much that would be?
That's around royalty, DMF, NMET comes to around 19.89%, and then this additional 22.5%.
Okay, understood. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vineet Malu from Birla Sun Life. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question. So, sir, again, just to clarify on the royalty side only, so total, including premium, etc., comes to about 41 odd %, right? On your these three mines except Kumaraswamy. That's the understanding, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and there's absolute clarity that DMF and NMET is not payable on this additional premium.
No.
Okay, thanks. So my second question is regarding the steel plant. So while I understand divestment process is being run by DIPAM, I wanted to know what is the progress on demerger? Because it was announced some time back that board has given approval, but where exactly are we there in the process of demerger?
So the demerger process has already commenced, and it should be at around in the Q3 probably will be able to conclude the process.
So along with the commissioning, you mean along with the commissioning of the?
Along with yes.
Okay. Okay. So it will require shareholder approval and all, right? So that for that we need a separate general meeting or something like that. That also needs to happen, right?
Yeah, that statutory formalities will need to be taken care of. Yes.
Okay. When do we reach that milestone?
Yeah, you need a final approvals and clearances, you're saying? What is that you're trying to say?
Yeah, so I'm just understanding in terms of milestone, so we need general meeting approval, we probably need NCLT approval, etc., right? So I'm just trying to understand when do we reach those milestones?
Yes, we can answer that.
Sorry?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello? So you are talking of the milestones.
Yeah, correct.
So that will be somewhere around the end of September.
Okay. And post these approvals, you don't expect much time for the merger to be effected, actually.
Hello? Yes, please. Hello?
Understood.
I couldn't get a question.
Okay. No, what I'm saying is that post these approvals, you don't expect much time to be taken from that point onwards for the demerger to be finalized.
No, we don't see any issue in that. We don't see an issue with that.
Okay, understood. Yeah. And sir, in terms of balance sheet, so now you have a bit of a borrowing and also cash balance. So I presume this borrowing is for the steel plant capex. Is that a correct understanding?
You come again, please. I just get your question.
In terms of the balance sheet, you have a bit of a borrowing,
Yes.
right, as of in the balance sheet as of this year end. So I presume this is for the steel plant capex, right? Is that a fair understanding?
Absolutely. That is exactly. We have already picked up 500 crores in terms of NCDs. So that is for the steel plant. Yes.
So it's true. I think that
working capital arrangement also. 1400 odd crores is against 1400 kitna? 1448 is against working capital and 534 is against the steel plant through the NCD. That is appearing in the balance sheet.
So that 1440 crores is for the working capital for current iron ore business.
Yeah, for all business, yes. Iron ore, diamond.
I think you're asking. He's asking about the debt. Whatever debt we have picked up. That's what loans. Whatever we have picked up.
The balance sheet, the loans would show a total of 2,000 crores approximately.
Correct.
534 is for NCD route, which is exclusively for the steel plant, and 1448 is the working capital arrangement that we have with banks.
Okay. So sir, just trying to understand, given the cash that we have in hand, why do we need to draw down on working capital facilities?
If I have a fixed deposit with banks at 7%, then if I naturally either I'll have to break those fixed deposit and lose 7% or take 4% working capital arrangement from banks.
Okay.
So it is better to...
Okay, understood. Yeah. Okay, so you had existing FDs which were yielding that much?
Yeah, these are old FDs normally with more than 1 year or 1 year plus 10 years, up to 1 year, 10 years. So we always take that call. If we have mutual fund, we generally tend to liquidate that and use it for working capital. And if we don't have mutual funds, if we have long-term FDs, then we tend to draw from OD, especially if I have to issue BGs or other things.
Okay, understood. Yeah. And sir, on last question from my side, on export side, we were getting preferential duties, right? Now which don't seem to have been renewed. What is your expectation regarding that? Is that a thing of past now, or do you expect them to be restored again?
No, for the current financial year, the whatever duties, whatever concessions were being given by the government of India, that doesn't exist. So, currently there is no concession. So you need to, if NMDC needs to export, it has to do it by paying the duty of 30% above 58 grade.
Okay, and how much commitment do we have on export side as we have firm contracts?
So what was happening was that we were exporting under government to government agreement based on a long-term agreement. So that has now not been renewed now. So we don't have any at this point of time. We don't have any commitments for export.
Okay, understood. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kamlesh Jain from Prabhudas Lilladher. Please go ahead.
Sir, so one question on the part of steel plant. How much capex is pending on that front, sir?
So currently we have already spent 18,560 odd crores, and the total capex to be spent is 21,300.
Okay, so roughly around another 3,000 crore is pending,
Yes.
which needs to be. Okay. And so when we talk about the commissioning and all that, so as of now, if I understand it correctly, we have yet not started the commissioning of coke oven batteries and other ancillary units. So how confident are we on the front of commissioning this entire or integrated commissioning? Or are we talking about coke oven batteries or the entire integrated commissioning? Because even last year, around 1.5 year back or 1 year back, we had started the coke oven batteries, and in the mid we stopped them, and we were telling that it is about to get commissioned in a 6 month time. But still we are 2 years away from that.
No, very true, very true. But then when we talk of commissioning, we talk of integrated commissioning. It starts with the coke ovens, and then heating of the coke ovens, and then it ends with the rollout of the coil. So it's an integrated commissioning. In a steel plant of this nature, we can't do part commissioning and just start the coke ovens or the blast furnace in isolation. So it has to be the integrated commissioning. So when we talk of commissioning the plant, we are talking of the entire commissioning. So we are pretty sure now the plant is more or less ready. So we hopefully we should be able to start.
So we have still not called for the tender of coking coal and all that, and it takes around 6 months time. So, but so far we have not done anything on that part. So I'm really surprised that how confident are we on the commissioning of this steel plant, where we have no experience on that side, and even the consultants are not coming to India, and we are talking about the Q3 commissioning. So really puzzled on that particular side.
So it's like this, that as far as raw material goes, coking coal we already have procured earlier, and we have also placed orders for around 75,000 tons of coking coal for the coming requirement. So raw material part, we have all limestone, dolomite, all that is tied up. I mean that's not a major issue right at the moment. So we are pretty confident of starting the commissioning process.
And so lastly on the capex side, sir, in this year we had spent like the lowest amount in last 6 odd years. And like say if you see any other PSU, be it Coal India or SAIL, they had done the capex like say highest in last 2-3 years. Despite that fact, we have a good projects in hand, like say this screening plant at Kirandul and slurry pipeline, which are very good on the part of the payback period. So even then that we have done such a low amount of capex of around 1,600 crore only.
So last year on the capex front, we spent 2,000 crores in the previous financial year. Now the main capex which is there is for the steel plant. Steel plant is the main capex in which year, and now the steel plant is almost complete. I mean whatever balance payments are there, these are all linked to commissioning payments. So commissioning activities. So we are at the fag end. So there is not much spent there to be done. The other thing is with regard to capex at our mines, we have a slurry pipeline. We're laying a slurry pipeline. We're doing a pellet plant, and we are also doing the screening plant at Kirandu. So all these projects have been awarded. Most of them have been awarded. So we are some balance part dry circuit package in the screening plant. So there are some packages to be yet to be awarded. We have started the process, and I think we'll be able to spend money on those projects.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhavin Chheda from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. So what are the volume targets for next 2 years? And if you can give mine-wise breakup of Karnataka and Chhattisgarh?
So the next year, our target is to do almost around 44 million tons. Karnataka should do 14, and around 13 million tons is what we expect from Karnataka. The balance we will do it from our Baladila sector. That's around 31 million tons.
And a year after that, and you have all approvals in place, or you have to go for additional mining approval to reach this 44?
No, we don't need any additional approvals for doing 44. So up to 44, there is no issue. So no additional approvals are required.
And after that, what's the target, and how much is the mining approval in place for all the 4 mines? I believe Donimalai and Kumaraswamy are capped at 7 each. So if you can give Chhattisgarh, Kirandul and Bacheli the maximum mining plan which is approved now.
So that's around 37.5 in the Baladila sector. In Donimalai we have it is capped at 14, and we are getting another additional 3 million tons. We are that will be there in Donimalai, additional 3 million tons. So that will go to 17 in some time to go. So the balance we'll have to do if we have to ramp up in production. So up to we are planning to go up to 100. So then we'll have to we are in the process of seeking permissions for enhancing our ECs or EC capacities from the current 51.8 to around 83.
So from 51.8 to 83 is a long-term plan.
Yeah, that's a long-term plan.
Okay. And sir, I missed out on this. When is the next renewal for Kumaraswamy on which this additional premium of 22.5 is not applicable?
That's next year.
Okay.
23.
So
22.
22 which month, if you remember? Mid 22 something? So probably in FY23, all mines will come under this additional premium of 22.5%.
Yes. All the mines will come.
Okay. And regarding the question on this exports, since the government has not extended, so what would be the company policy? Will you export and pay this export duty, or you will sell additional volumes in domestic market, because these were very high grade volumes which were being exported to Japan and Korea. Probably the domestic market is more for 62, 63 Fe, whereas company used to export 64, 65 Fe also. So what would be the company's strategy for this additional volumes which are now available either via in domestic market, or you have to pay export duty and still export?
So there is sufficient demand in the domestic market to absorb this additional. In any case, we are doing 2.5 million tons in the export. We are putting that was the quantity. So now that is available to be sold in the domestic market, and there exists sufficient demand in the domestic market. So that should not be a major issue. And in any case, currently, if we have to export, we have to pay the duty and then export.
Sure, sir. So historically, you have gone via long-term contract route to export iron ore volumes. Obviously, one of the reasons being cannibalizing agency shipment and this waiver of export duty. But now you are in line with the other Orissa miners who regularly export. So will company use spot opportunities when the demand is low in market or when the domestic iron ore prices is not at parity to export prices, since it is since its NMDC position is now in line with the other Orissa miners who regularly do export. So what would be the company strategy going forward?
So if you look at exports, whatever we are doing was high grade ore which was being exported. So now that is not there. So we pay duty and then export. If you look at exports from Orissa, most of it is done in the grades of 57 and below. So the low grade ore gets exported because of the duties. I mean the zero duty. There is no duty on that below 57. So as far as the NMDC goes, we don't have any major quantities of low grade ore available. So we'll look at that opportunity as and when it is available.
Sure, sir. And my last question on the steel plant, which has a separate iron ore mine for itself. What's the development progress on that, and is that mine also getting started along with the steel plant, or if you can give some dates on that mining capacity approval on that, and how much amount has been spent for development of that mine?
So there is no separate mine attached to the steel plant.
So when the steel plant starts, you will be using existing NMDC volumes to that plant?
Yeah, exactly. So the existing ore from our mines only is getting utilized for this steel plant.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Poti from Marshmallow Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity and congratulations on delivering such excellent set of numbers. So my questions are primarily around the MMDR amendment that came in recently. So one of the major amendments, it seems to be the fact that rather than designating the mining lease as the legal entity, the mine itself has been designated as a legal entity. And my understanding is that the any approval, ECSC, etc., which is obtained for the mine will be valid for the entire economic life of the mine. So is my understanding here correct?
Yeah. As far as we also understand this whole thing, it is what you are speaking of. Yes.
So this means pretty much that any ECSC clearance, so in that there is also this additional provisions which favor the PSU miners, in the sense that any mine that is with PSU will automatically get extended beyond after the mining lease period is over. So this pretty much means that once we get an ECSC clearance, as you were saying, let's say for 83 million tons, that will remain in place for the entire economic life of the mine, and even if the mining lease expires, there is no issue in terms of getting the whole clearance again. Am I right?
Yeah, that is what we also understand, and now normally most of the PSU's mines, we expect them to get renewed. What we are looking at is now this 51. We are asking for an enhancement of based on our reserves. We are asking for an enhancement of our EC capacities.
Understood. So once the EC is obtained, it will be valid for the entire life of the mine. Let's say if it is 50 years, 100 years, whatever, right?
Currently, the current lease in Baladila sector are valid up to 2035. So hopefully we should get an extension after that.
No. So my confusion was the mining lease is valid up to 2035, but the economic life of the mine will be, let's say, till 2070 or something. So my understanding is that since the mine is the legal entity, the ECSC, whatever we take, is valid till the economic life of the mine and not the mining lease. Is that understanding correct?
Yeah, currently that is what is our understanding also. Currently,
Perfect.
That is what is our understanding also.
Understood. That was helpful. And with the MMDR provisions also allowing transfer of mines more easily, are we looking, and given that we do not have any major, no presence in Orissa, which is the largest iron ore producer in the country, are we looking, given our cash and cash flow, will we look at acquisitions and the such strategies going forward?
Yeah, we have been talking to the government of Orissa and other similarly to other state governments also, where there are mining assets available, iron ore specifically. We are talking to them in terms of allocation of mines to NMDC.
Understood. So do you expect something to happen in the next couple of years, or you still waiting for guidelines from the ministry to come on this?
No, we are talking to the state governments basically, and also to the ministry also. Yes.
Perfect. And my last question is on, so again on the MMDR Act, so we have a lot of mines which are stuck due to legacy issues and litigation issues. So just curious to know, and again, the Act seems to indicate that those will be resolved quickly to ensure production comes on stream quickly. In the past, for example, we have expressed interest in the BPMEL mines, which are, my understanding is of very, very high quality, and the reserves are also quite good. So do you see anything happening on those? Do you see the litigation going away and us getting access to those mines as well going forward?
Yeah, I couldn't get your question. What was this mine you're talking about?
So, again, my understanding as per the provisions of the MMDR Act is that the legacy issue mines or the mines that are litigated, those will be resolved quickly and mining production will begin soon. So, in the past, for example, we have expressed interest in one of the litigated mines, which was BPMEL mines. Which my understanding is that the BPMEL mines are of very high quality and the reserves are also quite high. So do you see litigated mines like BPMEL to come on stream for us? Do you intend to participate and buy them, etc.?
No, I'm not aware of this BPMEL thing, whatever mines. So in any case, we don't, NMDC currently we do not have any mines which are under litigation. So that question at this point of time is not relevant. We don't have any mines which are under litigation. In fact, other way around, if there is any mines which are there, like I told you, we have been talking to the state governments and we have been which have been auctioned but not started. We are talking to state governments. So we will ask them for allocation of those mines to us so that there is an enhancement of iron ore production. I mean, there appears to be some sort of shortage. So we are requesting if any mines which are there, which have been auctioned, but the owners have not started production, that could be allocated to us. So in that context, we are talking to the state governments.
Thank you. We would request the current participant to please come back in the question queue for any follow-up questions, as we have several participants waiting for their turn. The next question is from the line of Nishta Mukherjee from Steelmint. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. Sir, could you highlight on the near-term outlook on Indian domestic iron ore prices?
Pardon, come again, please.
Sir, a brief outlook if you could give on the Indian iron ore prices, considering the current tight availability of merchant ore in the market.
So, if you look at the current, in case of Orissa, which is the main producing state at this point of time, so the production in Orissa has also gone up. But I believe the demand is there's a substantial uptick in the demand also, because most of the steel plants have ramped up capacities to 80-90%. So the demand still exists. There's a very strong demand in Orissa. Also, we are seeing demand from other locations of other steel plants also. So we do believe that the prices would be buoyant at this point of time. However, looking at the current monsoon season, we see a downtrend in prices of steel. So that would probably again affect our pricing. However, in the long term, we do believe that prices are strong and will remain stable.
All right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We would request the participants to please limit their questions to one per participant. The next question is from the line of Ashish Kejriwal from Centrum Broking. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So my question is for this timeline for demerger. You said that it's on September end, but if we can, you can say, give us a proper timeline. These things have to be done after that. This will happen, and so that we can also look at the different timelines. Because last year in September 2020, we said 6 to 9 months. So we are already away 9 months, and still we are seeing around 3 to 6 months more than that. So what are the things which one should look at? Like, for example, when you will come out with the shareholders approval, and once you receive shareholders approval, how much time you will need for further, finally demerging and things. So if you can give a proper timeline, I think that will be helpful, rather than saying that it will be in the second quarter. Thank you.
Yes, if you are there, you can take that question. Hello. Hello.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The next question is from the line of Vineet Malu, Birla Sun Life. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hello. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Maybe you want to answer the previous question, then I'll ask my question, sir.
Yeah. You are talking of timelines, of the demerger. That was the
The previous participant was asking about that. Yeah.
I think our Director of Finance is there. He will answer the question on the timelines.
Question, please. I had a problem with the mic, so can you just... What was the question, Vishal?
Sorry, sir. That was the previous participant question. Let me...
He was asking this. Hello.
Sir, Ashish is on the line. Ashish, would you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. Sir, my question was that if you can give us a proper timeline for the demerger, that, like, for example, when we can call for shareholders approval, once you receive that, how much time it will take, tentative time. So those timelines will be helpful rather than saying that it can happen in second or third quarter.
Yeah, I'll tell you what the demerger process is. First, you need a set of accounts. And then you get some opinion about fairness and accounting treatment and other things, and then you put it up to board for approval of the draft demerger scheme. So this, since now the accounts have been accepted, so this will be able to do by 31st of July. So we expect the board to sort of give its approval to the draft demerger scheme by 31st of July. Once that happens, then we take it to SEBI and Competition Commission of India and come back and then modify if they have something to say and then submit it to the MCA. By all accounts, this is a process after the board approval could take anything between 100 to 160 days, depending on how much time SEBI takes, how much time MCA, other people take. So if I start from 1st of August, so it could be anything between 100 days from August to 160 days from August.
Okay, so the first point is board approval.
Yeah, fine. And that we are now that the accounts have been adopted yesterday. So if I take 1/4 as the appointed date, then we can ask the board to get approval, approach the board for its approval of the draft demerger scheme on 31st of July. Latest by 31st.
That's helpful, sir. So just one clarification on the royalty part. You said that royalty in fourth quarter for Donimalai was stable from the time they started. And for Chhattisgarh, is it only for 3 days? Because Chhattisgarh costs around 100 crore and 3 days we must be, producing not more than 0.4 million tons. So that roughly comes to be around...
Donimalai, there is no royalty, no premium on Kumaraswamy production. And as MD said, the Donimalai production was only 0.5 million tons.
Yes.
Okay, so I have to say on, and in Chhattisgarh, for the 3 days it was about around more than that.
So that's what I'm saying, sir. 100 crore you paid for Chhattisgarh and 100 crore for 3 days production seems to be much, much higher because 3 days we can produce max 0.4 million ton. And for 0.4 million ton we are paying 1,000 crore, which means 100 crore, which means around 2,600 rupees per ton as additional premium. So max was not matching, so that's why.
Produces the premium product, na, the DRCLO.
So that's very small part of the overall thing. Okay, I will take offline.
Yeah, you can take it offline.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We would request the participants to please limit your questions to one per participant. The next question is from the line of Vineet Malu from Birla Sun Life. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Sir, my question is about your expansion plan. You said that you are filing for expansion of limits, EC limits, etc., to about 83 million tons. Now, for this expansion, sir, are you also discussing with potential customers for long-term offtake contract, etc.? Because current situation seems to be exceptional, and there's a good amount of exports happening out of the country. But as soon as international prices normalize, those exports window closes, right? And there is adequate iron ore available. Plus, there are some mines which will be ramped up also, which have got allotted after the auctions. So, how do we secure customers for that volume, or are you going to rely on spot sales only?
No, technically, NMDC, for most of our quantities, we have tied up with long-term customers only. So whether it is in the Baladila sector, in Karnataka, obviously everything is under the monitoring committee auction process. So in case of Baladila, it's all based on long-term contracts or long-term agreements which we have with customers, linkages basically.
But sir, those contracts seem to have quite a bit of flexibility about offtake quantities, right? Because we see that whenever Odisha prices are lower, etc., your customers actually start sourcing from there instead of buying from you.
So correct. No, obviously it does happen but then that happens mostly in the Chhattisgarh sector, where we have smaller customers, these sponge iron customers, which tend to move here and there. But otherwise, if you look at the integrated players, whether it is ArcelorMittal, whether it is JSW, whether it is RINL, and most of the other players, they are very consistent lifters, so there is no issue with them, and we are in constant communication with them in terms of enhancing, looking at our additional capacities which will be there for sale. We have also not closed our options for export for those additional volumes also.
Okay. And sir, would you also be looking at value addition projects like pellet, etc., along with that?
So what we have done is that we are putting up a pellet plant, 2 million tons pellet plant at Nagarnar, and there is a slurry pipeline which we have. That's a phase one of the slurry pipeline up to Nagarnar from Bacheli, and then a pellet plant at Nagarnar, and subsequently in the second phase we are coming up with another pipeline up to Visakhapatnam and a pellet plant there of around 6 million tons capacity.
And this is pure pelletization, no beneficiation, right? This is just the ore pelletization plant.
No. We are putting up a verification plant at both at Kirandul and Bacheli to beneficate the ore specifically.
Okay. But sir, we've had very limited success with beneficiation efforts earlier, so that's why I was just wondering.
So we are putting up a screening plant which has a dry circuit package of beneficiation. So all that is being done. We have already, most of it is now tendered out, and some of it is we are in the process of tendering. So this verification plant verification process is already decided, and we will go ahead with that.
Okay. And so what is the total project outlay you expect on these pellet and beneficiation plants?
For the phase one?
Sir, all put together.
Should be around anything around 7,000 to 8,000 crores.
Okay, and that will take about what, 4 years?
Yeah. The phase two of the project we have not yet started. The phase one of the project is only done. The phase two of the project.
Phase one is 7,000, sir.
No, phase one is 3,000.
3,000. Okay. Understood. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Satyadeep Jain from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions on your investment. NMDC is a shareholder in Neelachal Ispat. Just on that, you mentioned your debt number 80 crores in Neelachal. Any idea what would be the total debt at Neelachal, and how profitable the plant was running into losses last year. What is the kind of profitability for the plant when you look at some of the peers in the industry? Is it still a loss-making entity this year also?
We are talking of Neelachal Ispat, NIN?
Yes.
So currently that plant is closed down and it is under disinvestment. So that plant will be disinvested by the government.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pinakin Parekh from JP Morgan. Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I have two quick questions, waiting for a long time. My first question is, sir, the 22.5% higher royalty that is now applicable to your mines. Your pricing is as, X mine. So are your customers paying the higher royalty to you, or you have to bear the higher royalty?
So currently it is not a pass-through item. But we are taking care of that additional amount in our pricing.
So basically, to your extent, your pricing reflects the April, May very sharp price hikes that we had seen by NMDC was also to an extent to account for effectively the 15% royalty going to 22.5% royalty.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, my second question is on the steel plant. Given that plants take a long time to get commissioned, there is startup expenses, and you said that the accounts need to be prepared before the demerger. So is it fair to say that the demerger process would get completed only after the plant is commissioned, or will it be before the plant is commissioned?
So both the processes run simultaneously. So there's no connectivity between them. Our attempt is to ensure that both the processes are complete at the earliest.
And after the demerger takes place of the steel plant, NMDC would be supplying the iron ore from its mines at market prices to the steel plant, or would there be some discounted pricing? Because the whole point is that the steel plant capex was done with the assumption that it will stay under NMDC and it will have access to lower cost iron ore. But after the demerger, if it has to pay market price for iron ore, then just trying to understand how will the steel plant be viable?
So this as with all other customers who offtake iron ore from us, we have a long-term agreement, and that is also going to be the same with Nagarnar steel plant. As far as pricing goes, it will be on an arm's length. It will be an arm's length pricing.
Thank you. We would request the current participant please come back in the question queue for any follow-up questions. The next question is from the line of Mohan Bhansali from Bonanza Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So, seeing the current auctions in Odisha, do you see any further scope for price increment? And the second thing is then in Nagarnar, can you please give us what amount of hiring you will be required, permanent as well as contractual, and what is the status of hiring for the steel plant? Thank you, sir.
So if we look at Orissa, like I mentioned earlier, currently the prices have more or less peaked in terms of steel prices, and with regard to currently the monsoons are always have traditionally being a dampener on steel prices, especially the long product pricing. So prices are more or less flat now, and we believe that in Orissa also the prices have flattened. So similar with regard to NMDC also. Currently the prices which we are operating on is more or less we believe that there is not much headroom at the moment currently for any sort of increase. But going forward, post the monsoons, once the activities pick up with the COVID protocols relaxing, then we believe that things will improve definitely.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ayush Agarwal from Mittal Analytics. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. I just have one quick question, which is the 22.5% royalty that we are paying, it gets reflected in our expense line item. The other statutory levies that you're talking about, Is that sales net of that, or where do we count that for?
You're talking about the statutory levies?
Yeah, the 19.89% you talked about.
So they are taking care of expenses.
Where is it hitting us?
Add to that, yes.
Sorry?
You are saying something.
Yeah, where is it hitting in the P&L?
One sec, just hold on. So you wanted to know where it is reflected in our
Correct.
In our balance sheet. You're talking of the extra this one.
Yeah, so the statutory levies of 19.89%.
They are being reflected along with our expenses. I mean, expenditure. This one.
Under the royalty line item.
It will be reflecting under the royalty item. Yes.
So right now, if you see that we are paying around 1550 crores of royalty, which is around 22.5% on our sales currently. So how does this add up? 22.5% is additional, right? Apart from this 19.89.
Yes. The 22.5% is additional.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Novel Bas from Ashika Stock Broking. Please go ahead.
Yes, my questions have been answered.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rahul Jain from Systematix. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So once again on the royalty part, for example, if you see in the last quarter, the royalty number seems to be absurdly high. So is it like a normalization of your previous production or something like that? And also, would you get a tax reduction for the premium that you will pay, or it will not be allowed as a deduction?
No, I do not think there is any tax benefit there or any relaxation there. But then, hello. As far as the royalty goes, you're saying that whether it is your question was whether the royalty is hello.
Yeah. No, the premium part, would it be allowed for tax reduction, or would it be like you would not be allowed? So that will be, your tax rate will go high to that extent.
No. I mean, in terms of the pricing, you're talking in terms of the price.
No. In terms of so when you deduct from your cost, so when you calculate your PBT, so will it be allowed a deduction for your tax calculation?
No, I don't think that's allowed.
No, it's a normal expenditure item. It will be allowed as a tax deduction.
It will be allowed.
Yeah. It is a system.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vikas Singh from Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Good evening, sir. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, I just want to understand, we are targeting almost 6-7 million tons additional from Chhattisgarh. So in terms of logistic or evacuation purpose, what has been changed which would allow us to evacuate that much of higher material? And secondly, the debt which is currently sitting on our books, post demerger, that would completely be transferred to the steel mill books, right?
Yeah, the debt would be transferred to the steel plant. That is.
And for the logistics part?
As far as logistics goes, there is a doubling of the KK line which is already taking place. Most of it is complete. 60-70% is complete. Partly we are doing, partly based on deposit work basis with the railways, and the balance stretch from Nagarnar to Jagdal, from Jagdalpur to Visakhapatnam, that is being done by railways itself. So most of the work is done. Some patches are left, which will get completed, which will take some more time. Otherwise, we are able to utilize whatever is available right now. So as I said, 60-70% is complete, so that availability is there. So there should not be any difficulty in moving those 18-19 rakes which we envisage to evacuate the material.
So, sir, basically, see, right now we are entering into a monsoon phase. So, even if we take another 6-7 months, because this doubling of line has been taking place from years now. So, would we have enough for time left during this year to actually evacuate kind of a million ton extra every month in last 6 months or so, even if we complete everything in next 6-7, maybe 3-4 months? Just wondering whether we would have, because our first quarter kind of the run rate has been kind of a million ton a month kind of the run rate, right? Sorry, 3 million ton a month kind of.
Around a million tons. Yeah. So what happens is that if you look at our targets of 44 or around that number, so most of it is 7 million ton is additional from Donimalai. The balance is coming from the additional 7 million tons which we are getting is from Donimalai. The balance will come from Baladila. So the balance part of it is not the additional which will come from Baladila will be able to take care of it. That is not a very big issue. Evacuation.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhavin Chheda from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Sir, sorry, one question on the steel plant. Since you're going through the demerger route, earlier expectation was there was a possibility of disinvestment or bringing in a partner in that. But if that is getting delayed or not happening, we will lose the tax benefit because your iron ore company, parent company is very profitable, paying full tax. And if you demerge the steel company, which initial years would be making losses, so what's the thought process of a board on that? Because that would act against the wishes of the minority shareholder that you keep paying full taxes in the parent company, whereas you cannot recoup the losses in the subsidiary.
So what we have done is that we have demerged this company. That the steel plant is a separate company. It will be a separate entity in itself, a mirror unit of NMDC. Plus the debt, whatever we are taking on. Obviously, for obvious reasons, the steel plant it doesn't make any money initially. There's going to be some losses there. So that is will be there. We have not yet decided but it is going to be a separate entity at the moment. If you would like to add on anything on this, if you're there, Mr. Mukherjee.
Sorry, my mic was off. Sorry, my mic was.
So the question is, you can repeat the question for him to.
No, so my question to the board is that when there is no visibility whether that steel plant would be divested or you bringing in a partner, and you are going ahead with demerger and creating a separate entity, there would be losses for 2-3 years, and probably something would happen after that. Whereas your parent NMDC, which is a profitable company, you're paying full tax and there will be tax outgo, whereas you will not be able to offset steel losses ever. So how does it benefit the minority shareholder, and how could that, if there is no visibility, how this can be justified to the shareholder?
I've understood your question. Now listen to me. First of all, you are seeing it only from the principle of tax benefit, but it will also reduce the profits in the first place. So the tax benefit is much lesser from than what it would have reduced the net profits in the first place. So if I was making a loss of 1,000 crores in the steel plant, so my bottom line will go down by 1,000 crores, and my tax benefit will only be around 30 crores. 300 crores. So the net loss still would be to the shareholders of 700 crores.
So, but it is a 100% subsidiary. It will be anyway consolidated. We look at consolidated profits, sir. So unless
it is not a subsidiary right now, it is a part of NMDC itself.
No, sir. That's what I'm saying. When you even create a 100% subsidiary, creating a separate entity, it would remain a NMDC subsidiary. the consolidated accounts would anyway reduce your consolidated profits, but would lead to a full tax outgo of the iron ore profits, sir.
Yes.
So how does it benefit the shareholder community, sir?
This company, the steel company, is never a subsidiary of NMDC as of now. It is a part of the main mining company itself. It is not a subsidiary, and it will straight away be demerged.
Will you be listing it separately, giving separate shares of the steel company and listing it separately?
That is what demerger is. It will be a company with a mirror shareholding. And the umbilical cord between NMDC and the new company will be cut. It will be as independent a company of NMDC as SAIL is or as RINL and Vizag is.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mangal Nivedya from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Just two clarification on the steel division. One is, since you expect 3Q commissioning, what is your commercial HRC volume guidance for FY 22 and 23? And second, in one of the previous questions, you said that there is no mine allocated to the steel plant. But from memory, if I recollect, the deposit 13, which was under JV with CMDC and NMDC, and that went into trouble because of some MDO allotment to Adani. So is there any update on that mine, and is that or that mine is now not in any progress and we expect only supply from NMDC to the steel plant?
So currently we have two mines under NCL, which is NMDC CMDC Limited, which is deposit 13 and deposit 4. So deposit 4 is in a quite advanced stage of being allocated to NMDC. So once that order comes, then from the state government, then we seek all the clearances, the forest clearance and the environment clearance. As far as deposit 13 goes, still the matter is yet to be decided. So it still remains under question because the state government has cancelled the Gram Sabha or the clearance which was given earlier. So that is still under discussion with the state government. So, but in any case, there is no steel. There is no mines which are attached to the to Nagarnar steel plant. And whatever we supply iron ore will be supplied. It will be on an arm's length distance, similar to what we are doing with all other customers. And with regard to the selling of sales of Nagarnar steel plant products, you mentioned that also.
Yeah. So the volume guidance in the second half of this year and next year, HRC volume that we seem to sell.
So what happens basically once you start the steel plant, most of the products will be we would not be certain of the quality or the grade of the material. So there will be most of it would be non-standard products which would be produced. So we currently don't have. We would not like to comment on the sort of volumes which will be available. And so once the commissioning process is over, so that would take around the total ramp up and commissioning. So then we will be able to come out with some sort of figures. But most of the product which will be there now available, which will be all non-standard products.
Thank you. That was the last question. I would now like to hand the conference over to Mr. Vishal Chandak.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for participating. And my apologies if you've not been able to ask your questions. The queue was pretty long. Thank you very much, sir. And for any other questions, please feel free to write to NMDC. Sir, over to you for your closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Vishal. We have had a very good Q4, and hopefully going forward in FY22 also, we intend the most important thing is to start the commission the steel plant. That is one of our main areas of concern. There's been substantial delays, and we would like to run this demerger process and commissioning of the steel plant. The other thing is we would like to ramp up production to the 44 million tons at least, in and around that figure is what we wanted to do. We intend to do. Prices are looking good, so we want to take advantage of the whole situation. And there's good demand in the country, domestic demand. Exports, obviously, we are not looking at too much at exports at this point of time. Looking at trying to satisfy the domestic demand. So these are some things which we, and also the most important thing is to also ensure that the slurry pipeline and the capex spending on the slurry pipeline and the screening plant at Kirandul. We are also coming up with a screening plant at Doni Malai also, SP2. So we intend to enhance our capacities. We intend to revamp our existing loading plants and other old equipments. In fact, we are running it. We are getting in our HEM equipment plan is also, we want to get in more equipments and heavy duty equipment so that we are able to take care of the production. As regards logistics also, we want to improve our evacuation plans, doubling of we would intend to ensure that the doubling of the KK line takes place at the earliest. We're talking to railways. So all this put together, we have the plan for future looks bright for NMDC. And thank you for having us here for the con call.
Thank you. On behalf of DAM Capital, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line.